Hi there guys, welcome to Such Is Life, a channel dedicated to exploring the mysteries and complexities of life and philosophy revolving around it. On this channel, we will delve into a variety of topics related to life and how we live it, including personal growth, relationships, and the search for meaning and purpose. Whether you are a seasoned philosopher or just starting to think about the big questions in life, we hope you will join us on this journey of discovery and self-exploration. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the mysteries of life together. In today's video we explore the concept of nature versus nurture. We delve into the very definition of it and identify examples in both humans and the animal kingdom. We also take a look at some key research papers done on the subject matter and see whether we can reach a rational conclusion on which one has a more profound impact on one's life. We will also take a look at how AI can learn and incorporate this in its own understanding of the world and apply it in its own scrutiny. Can AI improve on the nature and nurture concept to be more applicable in everyday human interaction? So let's start by breaking down some key components of the discussion. The concept of nature and nurture has been widely used in the field of biology and psychology to explain how organisms develop and behave. The nature aspect refers to the genetic and biological factors that influence an individual's traits and characteristics, while the nurture aspect refers to the environmental factors that shape an individual's development and behavior. In humans, nature is known to be responsible for characteristics such as eye color, height, and susceptibility to certain diseases, while nurture is responsible for factors such as language acquisition, cultural beliefs, and personal values. For example, a child's innate ability to learn language is determined by their genetic makeup, but the specific language they learn is influenced by the environment in which they are raised. Similarly, in the animal kingdom, nature and nurture play a role in determining an individual's traits and behavior. For example, the coloration of a bird's feathers is determined by its genetics, but the bird's ability to find food and avoid predators is influenced by the environment in which it lives. One key area of research in the nature versus nurture debate is the study of twin and adoption studies. Twin studies compare the similarities and differences between identical and fraternal twins to determine the relative influence of genetics and environment on various traits and behaviors. Adoption studies look at the similarities and differences between adopted children and their biological and adoptive parents to determine the influence of genetics and environment. One well-known example of twin study is nature, nurture and cognitive development from 1 to 16 years, a parent-offspring adoption study by T. E. Moffat, P. A. Silva and M. C. Stanton, published in Psychological Review in 1993. This study uses data from a large-scale parent-offspring adoption study to examine the relative contributions of nature and nurture to cognitive development in children aged 1 to 16 years. The study found that both nature and nurture played a role in cognitive development, with genetics accounting for about 50 to 60% of the variation in cognitive ability. Another well-known study on the subject matter, the interaction of nature and nurture in the development of intelligence by Robert Plomin and John C. DeFries. Published in Intelligence in 2007, this study uses data from twin and adoption studies to examine the relative contributions of nature and nurture to intelligence. The study found that genetics accounted for about 70 to 80% of the variation in intelligence, while the environment accounted for the remaining 20 to 30%. What is pretty evident in these studies and others in the same field is that both nature and nurture play a role in determining an individual's traits and behaviors, and that the relative contributions of these factors can vary depending on the specific trait or behavior being studied. The studies also generally agree that genetics account for a significant portion of the variation in traits such as intelligence, cognitive development and other behavioral traits, and that the environment, including family income, parental education, and other environmental measures, also play a role. The concept of nature versus nurture have also been explored in criminology and the study of negative social behavior. The nature perspective of this equation argues that criminal and deviant behavior is largely influenced by genetic and biological factors, while the nurture perspective emphasizes the role of environmental and social factors in shaping behavior. Recent research has provided evidence for both perspectives. For example, a study by Caspi et al., titled Role of Genotype in the Cycle of Violence in Maltreated Children, 2002, found that children with a specific MAUA gene variation were more likely to exhibit aggressive behavior when exposed to maltreatment. However, it's also important to note that these genetic variations are not deterministic and that environmental factors play a role. On the other hand, environmental factors such as poverty, family dysfunction, and exposure to violence have been consistently linked to increased risk of criminal and deviant behavior. A study by Whittam and colleagues, Intergenerational Continuity of Childhood Abuse and Neglect, Risk Factors and Adaptations, 2014, found that childhood abuse and neglect were associated with an increased risk of criminal behavior in adulthood. It's important to note that the nature versus nurture debate is not a zero-sum game, and both nature and nurture play a role in shaping behavior. This is pretty evident from the study by Moffat et al. Titled Interaction of DRD2 and Childhood Abuse Predicts Alcoholism and Depression, 2007, aimed to investigate the relationship between genetic variation in the DRD2 gene, childhood abuse, and later life alcoholism and depression. The DRD2 gene is known to be involved in the dopamine system, which is associated with reward and motivation, and previous research has linked variations in this gene to addiction-related behaviors. The study included a sample of 1,116 individuals from New Zealand who were followed from birth to age 32. The participants were assessed for childhood abuse, alcoholism, and depression at various points in their lives. The researchers also collected DNA samples from the participants and analyzed them for variations in the DRD2 gene. The results of the study showed that individuals who had experienced childhood abuse and also carried a specific variant of the DRD2 gene, the A1 allele, were at an increased risk for both alcoholism and depression in adulthood. The study also found that the combination of childhood abuse and the A1 allele was a stronger predictor of later life alcoholism and depression than either factor alone. The authors of the study suggest that these findings provide evidence for the interaction between genetic and environmental factors in the development of addiction-related behaviors and mental health disorders. They also highlight the importance of considering both genetic and environmental factors when assessing risk and developing interventions. So as a result, it is acknowledged from these studies the nature versus nurture debate is not a dichotomy, but rather a complex interplay between genetic and environmental factors that can vary depending on the trait or behavior being studied, and that both nature and nurture are important to consider when trying to understand the development of an individual. So, knowing all this, how can artificial intelligence, AI, learn and incorporate the concept of nature versus nurture? Incorporating data on genetic and environmental factors in its training and by using algorithms that can account for the interaction between these factors can be a start. For example, AI can be trained on large datasets of genetic information, such as DNA sequences, and environmental information, such as socioeconomic status, to learn how these factors interact to influence an individual's traits and behaviors. One way AI can differentiate between nature and nurture is by using machine learning algorithms, such as decision trees or random forests, that can identify the relative importance of different factors in predicting an individual's traits or behaviors. For example, an AI model trained on data from twin studies can use decision tree algorithms to identify which factors, such as genetic variants or environmental exposures, are most strongly associated with specific traits or behaviors. Another approach AI can use to differentiate between nature and nurture is by using unsupervised learning techniques, such as clustering or dimensionality reduction, to identify patterns in the data that are not immediately apparent. For example, an AI model trained on data from adoption studies can use clustering algorithms to identify groups of individuals with similar genetic and environmental profiles, and then use these profiles to predict specific traits or behaviors. It is important to note that AI should not necessarily differentiate nature and nurture when interacting with humans. The concept of nature versus nurture is complex and multifaceted, and differentiating between nature and nurture is not always possible or even relevant. More importantly, AI's understanding of nature versus nurture should be used to provide new insights into the complex interactions between genetics and environment that cannot be easily studied in humans or animals. In summary, AI can learn the nature versus nurture concept by incorporating data on genetic and environmental factors in its training and by using algorithms that can account for the interaction between these factors. So what can we conclude from this discussion? The nature versus nurture debate is a complex and multifaceted concept that plays a crucial role in understanding how organisms develop and behave. The integration of AI in this field can provide new insights and understanding of the complex interactions between genetics and environment that cannot be easily studied in humans or animals. However, it is important to remember that the concept of nature versus nurture is not a competition between genetic and environmental factors, but rather a delicate balance between the two. Understanding the role of both nature and nurture can lead to a more holistic approach in addressing individual and societal issues related to health, education and well-being. So there you go folks, thanks for joining us on Such Is Life channel for this brief thought experiment. We hope that you have enjoyed exploring the mysteries and complexities of life and philosophy with us. Remember, life is a journey of self-discovery and personal growth, and there is always more to learn and discover. We encourage you to continue thinking deeply about the big questions in life and to seek out new experiences and perspectives that can help you to grow and evolve. We look forward to sharing more insights and ideas with you on future episodes of Such Is Life. If you like the content, we would love to hear your comments below, and remember to have a healthy discussion so we all can benefit together. We would appreciate it if you could share, like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell to be updated with our upcoming thought-provoking discussions on this channel. Until next time, take care and keep exploring the mysteries of life.